Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we're going to take a look at the Desolation of Smaug narrative scenarios. I am absolutely not 14 days behind on this article. Look, you guys know I am not the biggest fan of the Hobbit movies. At 5 PM tonight, when this video goes live, if you're watching this after the 26th of June, it's already live. I have a full 2-hour something video breaking down how I feel about the Middle-earth strategy battle game, entire range, all three, I'm going to say 3 trilogies, it's not, all 7 movies worth, and the other stuff. We go over the Hobbit, Good and Evil, Lord of the Rings, Good and Evil, and War of the Rohirrim, Good and Evil. That bit didn't take very long. But a big part of that, the idea of that video, was because I just have this bad taste about the Hobbit model range and the Hobbit side of the Middle-earth strategy battle game. And I wanted to have a proper look, so check that out. It will be in the same playlist as this video on the channel. But this is part 2 of the trilogy of scenarios, narrative scenarios, for the new Middle-earth strategy battle game, The Hobbit Saga. So let's take a look at this one. This will be a quick overview. There will be a PDF that we look at as well. Everything that you need for this article is linked in the description of this video for you to check it out and hopefully play the scenarios yourselves. But let's take a look at narrative play in Middle-earth, The Desolation of Smaug. This month, we have even more narrative scenarios for the Middle-earth strategy battle game as we continue to follow the journey of the company of Thorin Oakenshield. The quest to Erebor has already proved to be an arduous one, yet things are only going to get tougher for the dwarves and their hobbit companion. Narrative scenarios are the lifeblood of the Middle-earth strategy battle game, allowing players to recreate iconic scenes from the films and books with their collection, which now you can do because all of the rules for all of the models available, give or take a couple, are available for you to own. Yeah. It took 7 months, but they finally have all of the army books out. Picking your favourite scenes, assembling the relative forces and playing through the battles is a great way to feel part of the story, either by faithfully recreating the events or changing the course of history. This week, 2 weeks ago, Thorin leads his companions through the Forest of Mirkwood and beyond in The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. I'm going to hold off on talking about miniatures in this one because you know how I feel. You know. You just know. So this is The Hobbit The Desolation of Smaug. This PDF contains 3 narrative scenarios capturing some of the most exciting scenes from the Hobbit film we keep mentioning. Sneak around the Forest of Mirkwood as the plucky Bilbo Baggins while he tries to untangle his friends from gigantic webs. Recreate the skirmish under the forest bluffs as elves and dwarves fight against the bloated spiders that hunt them. And reenact the attack of Bolg's hunter orcs on Lake Town and the confrontation between Legolas and the spawn of Azog. Each narrative scenario lists all the participants you will need to play through these iconic scenes from the movie, gives guidance on how to lay out your board, and provides a slew of special rules to adapt the gameplay to help make the battle feel just like the scenes you see on screen. Will you aid Thorin on his quest to reclaim his birthright, or side with darker forces that possess an altogether more sinister motive? The future, The Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies in a few weeks. It might be a video that drops this week, it's probably going to be next week looking at the time frames. But let's take a look, shall we? And here we have our second trio of narrative scenarios from the Hobbit trilogy. Flies and Spiders, Part 1. The Unseen Hero. Oh, this is quite a nice one. It's a 4x4 board. Participants: Bilbo Baggins with the One Ring and Sting, and evil 6 Mirkwood giant spiders. The layout, as you can see there. Starting positions: evil player places 3 25mm markers on the board at least 6 inches apart. 2 of these markers represent the captured dwarves. The other is a decoy. Evil player chooses these in secret. These may be placed in difficult terrain, even in trees, if you agree that Bilbo may climb them. It's a nice narrative touch. The evil player then positions their Mirkwood spiders at least 6 inches away from one another. Finally, the good player places Bilbo Baggins touching any board edge, and Bilbo starts the game wearing the One Ring. Objectives: Bilbo must rescue the dwarves, whereas the spiders are trying to stop him. Our special rules: Brave Master Baggins. In a turn in which Bilbo charges, he receives +1 fight value and +1 attack until the end phase of the turn. Additionally, Bilbo's thrown stones have a thrown weapon of a strength of 1 instead of following the normal rules for thrown stones. The Ring of Power. Each turn at the start of each Mirkwood's giant spider's activation, it must make an intelligence test. If the test is passed, the evil player may move that Mirkwood spider d6 inches. If the test is failed, the good player may move the spider d6 inches instead. Spiders may not be moved off the battlefield and must always move the full amount rolled, stopping only if they move into base contact with Bilbo. If a spider does move into base contact with Bilbo, it will count as having charged him. Once Bilbo has been charged by a spider, any other Mirkwood spiders yet to move will automatically pass their intelligence test for that turn. I like it. And finally, Caught in a Web. If Bilbo is touching a marker in the end phase, the good player rolls a d6. On a 3-up, the evil player must remove the marker and reveal if it contains any dwarves. Flies and Spiders Part 2. The Elves of Mirkwood. And in this one we have a whole host Tauriels there. So participants good: Thorin, Killy, Philly, Balin, Dwalin, Biffa, Boffa, Bomber, Ori, Nori, Dori, Owen, Glowin, Legolas Greenleaf, Prince of Mirkwood with Elven Cloak, Tauriel, and 10 Mirkwood Rangers. Have I missed Bilbo? Because I think Bilbo's there as well. Or have they missed Bilbo? Thorin has Orcrist as well. I missed that. Yeah, I think they missed Bilbo off. But Bilbo is there. He's there in the setup, so as you can see, layout-wise, it's a similar size. In fact, it's basically the same board, isn't it? 4x4, with the dwarves and Bilbo all within 6 inches of the centre. So Thorin's company within 6 inches of the centre of the board. The evil player deploys all of their spiders, which they get 10 Mirkwood giant spiders, anywhere on the board that is at least 10 inches away from any good model, and the elves are kept aside and will arrive later. Objectives: the game lasts for 12 turns. At the end of the 12 turns, if there are still 10 or more members, Thorin's company left alive, the good player wins. Evil player wins if they can slay at least 6 members of the company. Any other result is a draw. Special rules: Haze of Mirkwood. At the start of each dwarf model's activation, roll a d6. On a 4-up, they may activate normally. On a 1 to 3, they may not activate that turn, may only roll a single dice for a dual roll, and cannot make strikes. The Rangers. At the end of the good player's 4th move phase, they may move Legolas, Tauriel, and Mirkwood Rangers onto the board as reinforcements from any board edge. Quite nice. And finally, the Spider's Nest. Any Mirkwood giant spiders that are slain should be put to one side. At the start of each priority phase, before priority is rolled, the evil player may place any previously slain spiders back onto the board at least 10 inches away from any good models. These spiders may act as normal, so it's a never-ending wave of spiders. And then our final one, the Lake Town Escape. Good participants: Legolas Greenleaf with Orcrist. Evil, we have Bolg, spawn of Azog, Fimble, Hunter Orc Captain, 24 Hunter Orc Warriors, 6 with Orc Bows, 6 with two-handed weapons, 12 with no additional war gear. The layout is split into 4 sections. You have Bard's House in section D, and then the rest of it is set up like a typical Lake Town board. Starting positions, as I say, they're split into A, B, C, and D, each running from the north to south and 12 inches wide. The evil player then splits their Hunter Orc Warriors into 4 groups of 6, deploying each group in a different section of the board shown on the map, though not within 3 inches of another section. Those deployed in section D must deploy wholly within 3 inches of Bard's House. Bolg is deployed with a group in section A, whilst Fimble is deployed with a group in section C. The good player then deploys Legolas anywhere in base contact with Bard's House. Objectives: the game lasts until the end of a turn in which one player completes their objective. Good player wins if every evil model has been slain. Evil player wins if either Bolg escapes via the board on the western board edge and is not seriously injured, or if Legolas is slain. This sounds like a really fun scenario actually. So, special rules. Silent Assassin. At the start of the game, only the orcs in section D may act as normal. All other enemies act as sentries, although they may not move out of their section until they're aware of Legolas. The alarm is not raised as normal in this scenario. Instead, if an enemy model from a section that may act as normal moves into base contact with an evil model that is currently acting as a sentry, then the alarm is immediately raised in that section, though not in any others that are still sentries. So you would need to get an orc from D to C, and then from C to B, and then B to... Interesting. Additionally, if Legolas charges or shoots at a model acting as a sentry, and if that model has not been removed as a casualty by the end phase of that turn, then the alarm is raised in that section as described above. Legolas' Fury. In this scenario, Legolas increases his attacks to 3 and he has a fight value of 7, so he is a bit of a beatstick. And the Spawn of Azog. Bolg has 3 fate points in this scenario. Additionally, whilst he has all of his wounds remaining, Bolg may not leave the board, and when he activates Bolg must always charge Legolas if possible, unless he is still acting as a sentry. However, if Bolg is ever reduced to a single wound, then he is considered to be seriously injured. If Bolg escapes the board whilst he is seriously injured, then the best result the evil player can achieve is a draw. So you have beefed up angry Legolas, and you've got to cut your way through, 27 orcs. This is the kind of scenario that I would enjoy. Really, really fun theming. How expensive would it be to set up a board like that though, with all of the bridges and the lakes and it would look amazing. But yeah, this is probably for people who have a 3D printer or who have a board set out like Lake Town already, and you also need all of the participants to do it like the film. But you can use any, say you had 24 Uruk-hai, a couple of Uruk-hai characters, and Eomer, Aragorn, whatever. Just follow these rules, just switch out characters wherever you want. But this is a really fun scenario. Actually, I would like to use this scenario as a test bed for certain heroes. Maybe not even changing their stats, just have a hero basically running a gauntlet. That's a really cool scenario. I think this scenario is great. I quite like Flies and Spiders Part 1 and 2. Obviously, with The Hobbit, certainly the second film, there isn't supposed to be any huge battles. They had to pad some bits out and do certain things to keep the audience entertained for 2.5 hours or however long they are. But this is really nice. I quite like these scenarios, all told. I don't know if I'd ever do them with these characters, but you can, this is the joy with this game, you can switch out. Obviously, you're probably best off doing, if you don't have Bilbo, using Frodo, things like that. If you want the full thematic narrative Hobbit vibe, use the Hobbit stuff, and if you've got the Hobbit stuff, brilliant, you're already halfway there. But I just think these are genuinely fun narrative scenarios. The scenarios are usually pretty good. I don't know if these are repeats. I've never seen any of the Hobbit narrative books, campaign books, whatever. I wasn't in the Lord of the Rings battle game at the point that The Hobbit was released, so I can't speak for that. Part of me thinks that these scenarios are a little bit copy and paste from previous editions, but it's nice to have them. And they're actually quite nice scenarios. And Battle of the Five Armies is always going to be fun, isn't it? So we will check that out, hopefully a bit sooner at release when it comes out. If it's later this week or next week, we'll certainly have a look. Keep an eye out for my video on the full Middle-earth strategy battle game model range. It's not quite as negative as you think. I have a lot of nostalgia for some of the ranges, and quite a lot of the models actually hold up, I think, personally. But check that one out and let me know what you think in the comments on that video. Let me know what you think of these scenarios in the comments here as well. If you've enjoyed this, please do the YouTubey bits. Like, subscribe, follow the channel for more Middle-earth strategy battle game. We're going to be getting into quite a lot more, hopefully, over the next few months. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.